Well, welcome to Richie's Roost, Shaco, Mississippi. Beautiful day. It's been a really pretty day. A couple of days before it hadn't rained. You can't believe it. We've finally run into 1 week when it didn't rain. So things are greening up and it's beautiful. But it's been a tough week. 9/11 has taken over the news. And we're reminded constantly of the horrors of that day. And Britain just lost that wonderful lady they've had as queen for 70 years. It's been a down week. I started not to even make a video, and I decided, since I had talked to you last week about maybe this week we'd talk about some things having to do with the income tax, I just decided I don't want to do that this week. And I wanted to try to do something positive, kind of take my mind off, and I tried and I looked, and the more I looked, the more down I got. And then I ran across the speech that our divider-in-chief made at Philadelphia earlier this month. And I just decided that's what I'd talk about. He had a term that he used. It's called MAGA Republicans. And he basically put them in the same category that Hillary put the basket of deplorables in. Lump them all in one big category and call them names. Berate them. So I decided I may not be one of the mega Republicans, but I didn't vote for him. I guess he was talking to all the people that did not vote for him and lumping them into that category. Although he says all Republicans are not like that, I'd like for him to divide it between those who are and those who aren't. But I took it personally and said that if I'm a member of that group, he's talking directly to me. And that's what I want to talk to you about. I want to go through some of the points that he directed at me and at you and see if you agree with them. First one is that I don't have respect for the Constitution, according to him. I don't have any respect for the Constitution. Hear those crows calling? It's kind of indicative of the feeling up here this morning. Well, I did sign a paper that said that I would protect and defend the Constitution of the United States when I put the Army uniform on back in 1960. And I've tried to live up to that every year since then. So I do have respect for the Constitution, regardless of what he says. Second thing, I represent an extremism that threatens the very foundation of our country, of our republic. I represent an extremism. Really? Which one do I represent? Which extremism do I represent? The third thing is that I don't respect the will of the people. He never met me. And you may ask some of my friends whether I respect the will of the people or not. Next, I'm determined to take the country backward, whatever the hell that means. I'm determined to take the country backward. I'm a threat to personal choices and to the rule of law. I'm a threat to the rule of law. Well, I have broken the law. A couple occasions come to mind. I did get 2 tickets, both for driving 70 miles an hour in a 55-mile zone. I have broken it, no question. But that doesn't mean that I'm a threat personally to the rule of law. I favor no right to privacy. I favor no right to privacy. I don't understand that. Oh, and here's a really beauty. You may talk to my friends about this and see if they agree with him. I am a clear and present danger to our democracy. Boy, I must be something. Also, I embrace anger. There are times when I do that, and this may be one of them. I thrive on chaos, according to him. I thrive on chaos, and so do you, if you're a member of that group he's talking to, or talking about. He wasn't talking to us, he was talking about us to some other folks, and the applause was scattered. And this last one that I'll go over is that I live in the shadow of lies. I live in the shadow of lies. Well, let me ask you this. Because he says also you can't love your country. He was talking to us. You can't leave. And he was talking to me. That I can't love my country only when we win. Well, we've lost a few elections since I started to vote back in 1955. But I still love this country. So how he can make a statement like that is beyond me. But I live in the shadow of lies. Have you heard our esteemed Vice President and our Secretary of Homeland Security state that our southern border is secure? You want to believe them, or you want to believe your lying eyes? It's time this kind of rhetoric stopped, everybody. You know, they claim that the media keeps people stirred up. That kind of thing keeps the country stirred up. That's coming from the President of the United States. And he claims to be a uniter. Well, he's a liar. We know that. He's also a problem that had a little, let's say, plagiarism problem all through his career. Matter of fact, he had to take another course over in law school because he plagiarized 5 pages from an article and didn't give them credit for it. They found out about it, and he failed the course, had to take that thing over. He also said that he was in the top half of his law school class when actually out of 85 students in that class, he was number 76. That's hardly in the top half of the class. A blatant, outright lie. But I'll tell you one of the funniest ones he did, which just is so typical of this guy. And this was described by a lady named Maureen Dowd when it happened. It occurred back in 1987, but it could just as well be today. At the Iowa State Fair, he'd been lifting lines out of his stock stump speech when he was running for office then, 1987. And Britain's then Labour Party leader, Neil Kinnock, who was campaigning for Prime Minister across the big pond. She said he lifted Mr. Kinnock's closing speech with phrases, gestures, and lyrical Welsh syntax for his own closing speech. That's what she said. But as reporters dug deeper and found more, Biden didn't just steal Kinnock's political rhetoric. He appropriated his life story also, including a coal mining grandfather. Biden made reference to his own coal mining grandfather. It was really worse than it looked. Kinnock's Welsh grandfather did work in the mines. Biden's, although he lived in Pennsylvania coal country, didn't work in the mines. He sold cars. Oh, man. But did Biden believe that British politics was so removed from American experience that he could get by with something like that? Maybe. But if that were the case, he wouldn't have ripped off lines almost directly from John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy, which he did regularly. Well, we have a feckless administration. God help us get through the next 2 years. There's one thing that's bothering me, folks, and I almost didn't bring this up. I worry about it. In our secured border, there's some bad people coming across. They're already here. They're in the United States of America. We don't know who they are, where they are, or how many there are. But there are some bad people who want to take down the great Satan. We've never had a war on our mainland since the Civil War back in 1860s. But I'm afraid we're going to have one here now. You know, this country has a population that loves to congregate. We always have. Birthday parties, church services, picnics, football games, swim meets, baseball games, soccer. We congregate a lot. What are we going to do on the day that 100 bombs go off all over the country at some of these congregations at about the same time that the electric grid is sabotaged? I want to know what the plans are that our feckless government has come up with, if they even have plans laid for something like that. God knows we're going to need them. Mark my words. Yeah, because these people know what they're doing, and they're plotting as we speak. So with that cheerful thing, after this cheerful week, I'll get to the income tax next week, I think, maybe, if they allow me to live that long, because I'm a threat to personal choices and the rule of law, so they may have some lawyers descending on me, but we'll see. In any case, if I'm here next week, we'll get into the income tax, unless I decide to put it off again and talk about something else. Maybe cheerful next week, hopefully. Something. You'll forgive me for being a little out of line this week. In any case, I'm Jim Ritchie. And good Lord willing, I'll see you again next time.